Okay, happy birthdays. If you celebrate your birthday in July, come on up and get your Starbucks gift cards. Let me see who the pains in my ass are. You share a birthday month with my son, so I understand. Of course, Bob's July birthday. Happy birthday. All right, a couple of announcements. You are welcome to continue using Denise's and Stephanie's individual email addresses to communicate with them. However, we are going to ask that you slowly migrate over to using the joint email address, goodyear@realtyoneGroup.com, primarily because if one of them is out on vacation, etc., your email won't just go unanswered this way. The box will be monitored by both of them equally. Or if you don't really care who answers, you just want an answer, this is another good way to go ahead and send that out, just again to make sure that you've got some extra coverage. So please make note of that. Start using it as often as possible. E&O. Yes, the policy is renewing on August 1st. So set aside your money because it's $350 for the renewal policy plus your $50 for the month of August. Your card on file will be charged for $400. People at home, on August 1st, your card on file will be charged for $400. Do not reach out to me and ask me, what is this charge? Because you know what? I'm just going to ignore you. If you don't know at this point, I don't know what to tell you. That's what it is for. Several announcements. So I'm guessing many of you saw that the Department of Real Estate said, hey, just kidding, we kind of jumped the gun on the fingerprint clearance card requirements, and we are retracting that requirement for now. However, I have it on good authority, and by good authority, I meant I actually spoke directly to the commissioner about what their intended procedures moving forward will be, and they are going to recommend, if you have not already done so and you have an expired fingerprint clearance card, it would be wise for you to get that renewed, because what they do plan on doing sooner rather than later, possibly by the last quarter of this year, is have a little section on the licensing page for every individual licensee that has the question for the public to view. Does your agent have, or does this agent have, a current fingerprint clearance card on file? And it will say yes or no. And then they plan to do some PR about it relating to, is your agent potentially a criminal and you don't know? A little tongue-in-cheek, but that's going to be the general gist. Like, hey, make sure you know who you're working with, and a good way to do that is to see if they actually have gone through the process of being fingerprinted. So even though it is not a quote-unquote requirement to renew through the department, they're going to strongly advise that you get that done and get those on file. 5 years. 5 years. And for those of you who also work with kids or work in another field where fingerprint clearance cards are required, they won't accept those. So you have to go through this process of having it done specific for practicing real estate. I know I'm like, I can work with little children, but apparently I can't work with big children. Yeah. Are you gonna have someone come to the office, maybe like a group thing, or? Yeah, I'll probably plan on coordinating that a little later this year. This time is rough because everybody's gone. Nobody wants to leave their house when it's 145 degrees outside. But so probably bring this donut. Yeah, that's on here. Excellent. It does work. That would work for me too. So you speak my love language. So yes, I will probably look at having, that's a great question. Probably look at have somebody come in September-ish to go do those. You just Google it. The real estate school's doing it. DPS does it. UPS?
I think at least some of the UPS stores do it.
Okay. Okay.
How big of a problem is this, people slipping through the cracks? Are we talking like, 3 in the last 10 years?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for that. I kind of wonder the same thing, Eric. I'm like, is this really that big of a problem? Admittedly, we have had some pretty major situations. So I think even 1 or 2 high profile cases is enough to kind of question the community at large. Blame Calvin. Also, we are currently hosting our 8th annual school supply drive. So if you haven't already participated and you are so willing, please, please, please bring in your supplies. You can leave them right here in the box by the front door. You can go ahead and do cash donations through one QR code or an Amazon shopping list, and they'll send it right to the person who needs it by using this QR code. but just anything you have. They did papers and pens and crayons. They have a lot of, especially low-income schools on this side of town, but they've expanded pretty tremendously. And it's an agent in our office who actually has organized this and put it together over the past 8 years. So just a great, easy way to give back. There's a lot of school supply stuff on sale right now, so please just consider it. Jake, come on up.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. We're staying cool?
Yes.
Air conditioner's running?
Not as cool as you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, for any of you new people, I am Jake. I'm with American Home Shield. I'm the local account manager for American Home Shield. So I'm your contact. If you need any help or have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I want to go over a program that we're running for the month of July and August. All right. It's $100 off any plan. It's the Shield Essential, Shield Plus, or the Shield Complete. It's $100 off. So instead of $815, they're going to get it for $715. These are for warranties ordered in the month of July and August. So if you have a closing in September, say, for instance, and if you put the order in before August 31st, you're going to get the discounted price. You put it in after that, you're not going to get the discounted price. All right. So it doesn't necessarily have to close in July and August. The order has to be placed in July and August. I've been with the company 20 years and I've never seen a program like this. American Home Shield offered any kind of discount like this. So it's going very well. A lot of people are really excited about this, especially realtors who sometimes pay for the home warranty. All right. They're looking to save a little money. Well, they can save $100 even if they buy the basic plan, you know, for $350, and then have your buyer, if they want to upgrade to the other ones, they can pay the difference. But at least you're offering something for them at a for $350. It's a good gift to give away. Also, keep in mind that with the Shield Plus and the Shield Complete, the video chat with the experts, I keep emphasizing this because this is a great program. When they download the app, they're automatically talk to video chat with an expert. These experts, on average, are taking between 150 to 195 calls a day, helping people walk through their problems, solve them before they have to send out American Home Shield. This is absolutely free. All right, there's no charge for this. Case in point, I had a new buyer buy a house. Refrigerator wasn't cooling very well, so they wanted to put in a request. I walked them through how to set up the app. They video chat with the expert. The expert found out that the refrigerator was in a vacation mode. All right, and it was a couple of clicks of a button, and bam, the refrigerator was working fine. All right, same thing with garbage disposal. Sometimes they're stuck. You know, a little Allen wrench you get, and you got to loosen up the bottom. Some people don't know about this. All right, these people are here. These people are here to help. They're experts. Excuse me.
The red button.
Yeah, the red button, reset button, exactly. Same thing, GFIs, all right? People don't know where these things are located or where to look. These people are here to help. They can see exactly what you're seeing by just pointing the camera, and they're going to tell you what to look for. All right. So that's a valuable program. And another thing I'm getting a lot of questions on is air conditioning. All right, with refrigerant and all that stuff. All right. Well, there's a new refrigerant coming out, but there's still more testing that needs to be done on it. So I don't have any new information. As far as your older units, your R22s, all right, that refrigerant, American Home Shield can still get that. Our contractors still have that. However, it's very expensive, all right? So if you have homes that the air conditioners are older and use that R22, put a warranty on it with the Shield Complete because we cover the refrigerant 100%. And sometimes that could be, $1,500 to $2,000 bill.
When did they quit using it?
2020, I believe they couldn't manufacture it anymore. They couldn't make it anymore. If it's still out there, they can still use it, but they just can't manufacture it anymore. Just like they can't manufacture R22 units anymore.
So they quit manufacturing it. When did they quit using it?
When they run out, actually. When they run out. They can't recycle anything that's captured. Yes.
So that's one of the reasons why it's lasting. I thought it was one in between parts.
It's 410A. That's another refrigerant. Is that what you're thinking about?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, when did they quit manufacturing new units with R 22? Switch to the
2020, they stopped manufacturing R 22 units. They don't manufacture them. That was in 2020. All right. And another thing I just want to bring real quickly, if I got a second, is the seller's coverage. All right. How long are homes on the market now? 50, 60, 90 days?
1,200,000. No, I'm.
Exactly. So if you have a seller, put our seller's coverage on. It's going to give them $1,500 if something should happen to the air conditioning, plumbing, electrical heating, and the water heater. All right.
It's the same prices?
But there's no cost for the seller's coverage up front. There's no cost for that. All right. All I have to do is enter it in the system and they'll get the coverage, and they get $1,500. If it closes with the American Home Shield Home Warranty, when it closes, there's a $65 charge that's added to whatever plan they want. All right. If it doesn't close with the American Home Shield Home Warranty, they use another warranty company, or they don't want a warranty company at all, just call me, I cancel it, it goes away, they don't owe us anything. So it's like $1,500 of free money. All right, especially with these homes on the market. And especially if a capacitor goes out, it's $300 or $400 unless Chris goes over and takes care of it for you. But you know, those can be expensive. And the warranty would cover that. And in the summertime, that's what a lot of the problems are with air conditioners, is a capacity failure. So if you have a listing, all I need is the property address with the seller's name, phone number, and email. Just email it to me, I can enter it, and I'll send you the confirmation. It's that simple. And then they're covered up to $1,500. Yes.
Does this program apply to past clients who did not get a warranty?
No. That's only for new, only for new home work.
Under contract.
Under contract. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys. Stay cool. And again, I'm here to help in any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. You can obviously see this, but just a heads up, there's no promo code needed for this. So it'll just take the discount right off of that when you place the warranty through a home warranty request through the site. All right, moving on. Melissa, I was like, I know I saw her come in. Come on up. I figured I'd go ahead and promote this no matter what.
Yeah, always.
We're all about saving money right now.
Yes, of course. So I'm Melissa, I'm with Rock Title. I am the escrow officer branch manager over at our office across the way here. Amy is our marketing rep. She's out at a doctor's appointment today, so she couldn't be here. But I just have some things printed out for you. If you would like to grab them before you leave, I can leave them here. But I just talked about our marketing and things that we offer to you guys. So we have the normal flyer, postcards, social media posts that we can do, buyer seller guides, we can brand to you guys directly. But something that does stand out that I don't think anybody else does is Rock University. So if you are not signed up for Rock University, it is free, rockuniversity.com, and it is training to you guys once a week. So every Thursday there is training. It's all done on Zoom. And if you guys are not able to make the classes, then we do record them all, and they are on our YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, go back and listen to them at any point in time. And then the other thing we have is our NetSheet app that is for you guys. It is free. Again, you can sign up here on the QR code, and it has a lot of cool features on there. So obviously you can do the NetSheets. You can do it at hand in front of your clients. You can email it to them, brand it to yourself. For the seller net sheets, it does populate the tax prorations, which I think is really cool. If you have the seller's interest rate on their loan, it will automatically put a payoff in there, an estimated payoff that they think is due. And then some cool features on the buyer side. It can show monthly payments, what the cash to close is. So check that out. It talks about our fees, our discounts that we offer. We do have 50% off our escrow fee. If you put that verbiage in your listings, send us the MLS sheet. When we go under contract, the buyer and seller both get 50% off the escrow fee. So that's a couple $100 savings for each side. And then Canva. Amy is really good at Canva. So if you guys need any help with Canva, she can do one-on-one trainings with you. We do have classes in our office sometimes for Canva. So please reach out to us. Our contact is on the back. Amy is on there, and I'm here for all your title escrow needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We do here for you guys.
Yeah, I hope. And on this, when the recap goes out to, like Melissa said, Rock University is phenomenal, especially with tech related training. So if you haven't taken advantage of it, please do. It's free for you, and you all have access through their One Rockstars page to get even more exclusive content that's just for Realty One Group agents. So explore it, love it, enjoy it. All right. Thank you. I love it. Tony is not able to join us this morning. However, I wanted to make sure that this was being promoted the way that it should be promoted. How many of you have a listing that has sat for, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months? Sellers keep reducing their price and nothing's happening. If you could market a rate, a fixed rate for 30 years below 5% for that property, do you think that could help it sell? So why aren't all of you doing the list and lock?
I don't know about it, but I'm curious to know more.
So this program, in essence, is a nominal upfront refundable fee charged to the seller for the seller to buy down the rate in advance. So instead of going in and reducing their price by thousands of dollars, because $5,000 price reduction is not going to cut it in this market. I mean, you want to draw extra attention, you're looking at $10,000, $25,000 price drops to hit more activity. So instead of doing that on a regular basis, out the gate, when I get the listing, I would tell my seller, I have an idea. Instead of making price reductions, which, by the way, I don't care how well priced you are, we will do. This is just the market for it. Let's go out the gate offering 5.5%, 4.9%, whatever you're willing to pay to drop that rate and have it fixed for a buyer. This is hundreds of dollars a month in savings for a buyer. Do you think that could make a difference to them? And the absolute beauty of all of this is, as Tony mentioned last month, he is personally chipping in from his commission 1% to help make this happen. So you're already 1% there when you are working with him on this program. Now, does this require the buyer to use Tony? Yes, it does. Let me know when you're working with buyers on new builds, how often will they go with their lender at a 7% rate versus the builder's lender at a 4.9% rate? Pretty easy for them to say, this is where the money is, so I'm going to proceed accordingly. So I don't think this is going to be a problem getting buyers to sign in for this. And I think if you present this, and he has all sorts of marketing materials for this, you can do sign writers, and they can have single property websites. You can have all of these materials that you can actually share with the seller up front. And all you need is their buy-in that, hey, instead of reducing the price regularly, I have a better idea that could potentially sell your home faster and for more money in the long run. Because you're looking at a 3% buy-in on this to save the buyer hundreds of dollars a month, as opposed to them, their first price reduction is probably going to be about 3%. And they're going to have to keep negotiating. Yes.
You say prepay. Is that, when you list it, they're paying that, or prepay it?
They're prepaying the lock rate fee. So depending on what it is that they're doing, there's a lock later, depending on the circumstances. This is such a volatile market. I don't know that that's the one to do it. Or for $999 a lock now. So that's going to be, it's guaranteed. This is the rate. This is what you're marketing. This is going to be the preference. So they're paying that right now. What they are paying up front at closing for that 30-year duration is going to be that final 3%. Yeah. So they're not having to come in with like 20 grand right now. It's going to be at closing for the remainder of it. But there is some out-of-pocket expense right then and there.
So the seller is going to pay that $999 upfront at the time of listing.
Yes.
And then approximately $20,000 to get the buy down to 4.9.
It's all based on the sales price of the house.
Yeah.
So for like 500, 3% is $15,000. But remember, Tony's paying a percentage of that. So really, it's only 10. And I'll tell you right now, there's not a buyer out there who's not asking the median request for concessions right now is 10 grand. So you're absolutely going to surpass that in a heartbeat by going this route. I think I saw another hand.
It was nice.
Yeah, Teresa.
So you mentioned earlier that part of it would be refundable, say they decide not to sell, but I'm assuming that the $9.90 or whatever would be non-refundable.
That's refundable.
That part is as well?
Yeah, so the lock rate is refundable if ultimately it's not used.
Thank you.
So obviously, I'm not the lender. I just know I've looked at the numbers on this, and I think that this is such a fantastic program, and I have not seen a single listing on the resale market that is promoting something like this. Like, you want to stand out, you want to really educate your sellers, this is the way to go. So if you haven't already chatted, and he'll do this is a little dated. If you haven't already chatted with Tony and asked for very specific numbers on a sales price range, get with him and find out what you can do. Like I said, there's marketing collateral for this, but just having that information. In the very first line of my listing would be save $800 a month with a fixed 4.9% interest rate on this property.
Were we ever able to advertise percentages at all? And so he's here, like, if there's fees, that's not possible.
Well, and that's why this is the way to go, because if you lock later, you can't promote a specific interest rate, right? So I'm like, no, I want to be able to promote whatever that is. So the $9.99 is the way to go. All right. Well, Tony's info will be in there so that you can contact him. Let him know I sent you. Just what? I'll let him know. Last month? I think he's introduced it a couple of times, but more of last month was just kind of market update stuff, as well as the commission, the 1% contribution from him. Yeah.
Not quite as impactful.
Now that it all makes sense, take advantage of it. Reach out to Tony. We want to know more about the list and lock. I'm so excited for our next book club, which is not going to be in August, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and postpone this until September. But on September 9th, we are going to discuss the book, How to Hug a Porcupine. You can read it outside. In this market especially, how many of you have had to deal with difficult people? Yes, it could be the buyer. I know, Lisa. I know. It could be the buyer. It could be the seller. It could be the other agent. It could be your wonderful broker. But you have to deal with difficult people. And this is kind of a psychological way for learning different techniques to save you some peace of mind and sanity when you are dealing with those people. So I think it'll be a really good one for us to cover. All right. Queen of Hearts, what we got? $45. Okay. 45 bucks and chance to draw the queen from the cheater.
Or he.
What was that? Some of you are really just cruising for a bruising this morning. All right, who does not have a card in here? Excellent. I like it when you're right up front. All right, pull a good one.
That's what I said.
I'm sure there was a dirty joke in there somewhere, but I'm just gonna bypass it. Jeff, congratulations.
Oh,
All right, come on up. All right, you get 45 bucks, and then you get a chance to pull the queen. So let me give you your money,
Cards are up front.
and then see if you got a queen in here. I mean, there's a queen right here, but. Oh, wah, wah, wah. I'll tell you what, this stack is getting somewhat low. This is getting exciting. We'll see if we can get it up to 1,000 before somebody wins. And Banana, come on up. How many of you are utilizing video in your marketing? How many of you think you would utilize video more if you didn't have to appear on screen and you didn't have to be the voice for it? We got something for you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna. You probably know me from being here in the office. But today I want to talk to you about something really exciting I've been working on with a development team here in Arizona. It's called VoiceBox. And what VoiceBox does is it solves a problem that a lot of us face on a day-to-day basis, is creating social media content for your listings or for property tours that you do seamlessly, and it's super easy. So what it does is you record a video through the app, and then it creates a polished version for you, and it creates the hashtags for you as well, and it creates a voiceover that sounds like you right on the video. So it's reading the video, it's gonna describe what's in the video and it times it directly to what the person is seeing on the screen. And so right from there, you.
Are you able to go over and get closer to the computer?
Oh.
Because the people
Oh.
online can't.
Oh, sorry. They
want to hear you.
Okay, so right from the app, you can post it to your social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. It's linked to right now. And we're getting ready to test it. So I was looking for a few agents that would volunteer to give us some feedback. If that's something that you are interested in, just go ahead and see me after the meeting, or you can contact me with the information that's there.
No cost.
Not
We're
you.
looking for guinea pigs.
So I'm gonna show you just a quick video clip of a couple of videos that I did just the other day on one of my listings that's coming up. Can I just click on the?
So you can try. It's probably not going to activate because it's just a screenshot.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if you want to
I'll
see a
send one
demo,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to see a demo, I'll probably be in one of the conference rooms, and then you can look at it there. But it's pretty cool, and there's no cost to test it. But we just really want to get agents' feedback and see if it's a tool that you would use and would help you generate more leads on your socials. Any questions? Yes.
Do you know what you're gonna charge when you?
That's a good question, and that's part of the feedback that we want to know. What would agents pay for something like this? That could be, it could be a possibility. Any other questions? No?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, you can sign up to be a beta tester by scanning the QR code. Again, this will go out. You can reach out to Anna or just kind of check things out. What I loved about this is I think a lot of you waste time trying to write the content, the things you're going to say. And that's what the AI powered portion of this is doing. As it's viewing the property, it is writing the script about what it sees. So you do not have to create anything for this. So that's where I think the real benefit is. So definitely check it out. This is becoming a little more common, so I just want to make sure everybody knows that this form exists. If you have a buyer who is making multiple offers, okay, they are offering on more than one home at the same time, you have to disclose that. So the best way to do that is not just the disclosure aspect, it's actually the contract requirement aspect by using the multiple offer counter offer, not to be confused with the multiple counter offer. Yep, multiple offer, counter offer. So you don't even have to do anything other than fill the top on this out. What will happen is you will submit this with the offers that you are submitting, and then the seller will have to respond and reply back on this. And then the buyer has one final opportunity that says we accept or we reject the property. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm just going to cancel during the inspection period, this and this and that. No, it's all done right here. So if the buyer sends out 3 of these, and all 3 sellers agree to their offer terms, the buyer is not bound to perform until they sign off on which one they're going to proceed with, unless they intend to buy all 3. So make sure you are aware of and using that form as intended. All right, several broker Q&A things. I was laughing, Jake, when you mentioned, oh, that these experts get like 150 calls to 195 calls because they're just getting started. Sellers agreed to repair 3 things on the BINSR. During our final walkthrough, we determined 2 items were not done and issued a cure notice, the pre-closing walkthrough. Can the buyers delay closing or cancel the contract? How many of you say yes, they can delay closing or cancel the contract? How many of you say no, they cannot?
Yeah.
How many of you say we need more information? Okay, what can you tell me? What information do you need to know more? Are they material? How is material defined? Potentially. How would the courts define material?
Livability.
$1,000. Safety issue?
So the biggest ones is, does it affect the livability of the home? So livability, meaning like the AC unit does not work. Right now, would that be a problem? Yep, sure would. The second one is, does it surpass the cost of small claims? What's the small claims limit? $3,500. So I'm telling you right now, if you come and you tell me my buyer doesn't want to proceed because 2 of the GFCI outlets are not working, I'm going to tell you, get out of here. and that they need to close escrow. And you're all laughing, but I swear to God, your buyers are some of the craziest people
Yes, they
that must
are.
exist on the planet, because the things that they think they want to cancel over at the last minute are utterly insane. They can't even delay closing over that. So can they go ahead and issue the pre-closing walkthrough serving as a cure notice? Absolutely. But here's what starts to happen. If those repairs necessary are not exceeding $3,500 or affecting the livability or habitability of the home, now we're going to get into what we call a dueling cure situation, because now the seller is going to cure us, or the buyer, for failure to close escrow. Which one of those is material? 2 GFCI outlets that don't work, or not closing escrow? Not closing escrow. So please make sure that your buyers understand when something like this happens, here is what we do. Now, again, there are causes for delay. If it is a big situation, then yes, we can delay, we can cure, we can cancel, all of that. However, 95% of the time, this is not going to fall into that category. So what we would do in that case, if we cannot get it rectified. So first step is, let's try to resolve this. It's an additional credit at closing. It's an escrow holdback. They're going to get it done right away, something else. If all else fails, you are going to close under protest. Okay, and these are the exact words that you're going to put into an email to all parties. Buyers elect to close under protest and will pursue the seller after closing. Do you think that just the threat of that might ultimately make the seller think, okay, let's go ahead and try to come up with a resolution for this sooner rather than later? Yes, but ultimately that pursuit is going to be in small claims court, or possibly mediation or arbitration, depending on the circumstances. But if it's under 3,500, you're going to small claims no matter what. There'd be no reason to mediate or arbitrate. So closing under protest, pursuing the seller after closing, try to resolve it in advance. But I just want our buyers especially to understand, no, we're not delaying closing, or we're not canceling over something that doesn't meet this threshold for material concerns. Good?
Send an email, but can you put that clause in your clause?
Yeah. I think the majority of the time, most of you are going to reach out to me and say, hey, what are the circumstances? This is really more proactively. I don't want you to give your buyers the impression that they have those rights that they probably don't have. All right, buyer found several roof issues during their inspections and has asked the seller to update their spuds accordingly. Does the seller need to update the spuds?
No.
Why not?
Because you've already uncovered that shit.
They've already uncovered it. So disclosure is about the point of discovery. Now, if this buyer backs out, then does the seller need to update their spuds? They absolutely do, depending on the situation. Yes, they absolutely need to disclose on the spuds at that point and update. But for this buyer, and I feel like we might have some buyers that are trying to create a loophole for themselves. Maybe they're not that smart, but this will come later on. The buyer discovered something. And maybe it's not roof. It could be something totally unrelated. It could have something to do with the HOA or with the community or something else. But they have discovered something. And then a few days later, they're telling the seller, you must update the spuds. Why would we do that? Because what happens if we update the spuds? They got a 5-day cancellation right. Now, that means now I have to fight, because yes, we updated the spuds and yes, we sent it over, but really they discovered this 3 days before that. So when does their 5-day start? It started upon the point of discovery. Who's going to rule on that? A court. So the title company is absolutely not going to be the one to weigh in on this decision. This is definitely going into arbitration and potentially litigation over something like this. So do not update the spuds with information that the buyer is providing to you. Clearly they're aware of it, so it's not a problem. Good?
But if the buyer uncovers it, let's say they're already past the window, if something happens and they uncover it.
5 days.
They get 5 days from the time they discover
5 days from the point of that new discovery. Now, if it's something that should have been discovered during their inspection, that will not count. So it can't be, in essence, a re-inspection situation. This would be something related to the HOA or to the title commitment or something similar. Yeah.
What if it's just discovered that when it comes out, it's just older, so they got down literally nothing wrong.
They backed out during their inspection period because of this. I'd be curious to see, and this is a great note for all of you as well. I would say that that is valid because during their discovery, whether it's reviewing the spuds or during their inspections, they determined that the age of the roof was going to be something they're not okay with. I would say that that is okay for them to cancel based on that reason. But it would have to be during their, it would have to be on the BINSR. Isn't there a spot on the spuds that asks about the age of the roof? So if they lied on their spud, yeah, I'd say they better update that. But they don't have to update it for this buyer. I would just make sure that they put the appropriate age in there for the next buyer that comes in. Yeah. Yeah, we've had that with AC units too, where the seller wrongfully thought that their AC unit was like 3 years old. No, it's 17. Like that. I also think I'm only 32. However.
Maybe it's time for the buyer to say, hey, it's an old roof, like $10,000. Selling credit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So at that phase, it's not a problem, right? Because they're still in their inspection phase, so that they can negotiate that a few different ways. Yeah, Rob.
Well, it's at the end of it. Confirm what the finding is before you start disposing it.
Especially for something that major. I agree wholeheartedly because the easy out for an inspector, right? The CYA for them is just making notations of it's at the end of its usable life. Well, I mean, shit, I might be at the end of my usable life. We don't know. I could die tomorrow. There's so many, based on the amount of donuts I eat, Lord only knows how long I'm going to survive. But all that being said, I agree. Don't trust just an inspector on this stuff. Have the seller then bring their own roofer, their own HVAC tech, or someone similar out to verify that information. Because I'm not disclosing something that's not true. My friend called on a yard sign and met with the agent at the property. That agent had her sign a buyer broker agreement, but my friend doesn't want to work with her. How can she cancel the contract?
Statement in writing.
The buyer broker addendum.
Here's what I want you all to know. The only answer you can give is, I can't help you.
Yeah.
I can't help you. You just told me that you're in an exclusive relationship with another agent. It is both illegal and unethical for me to advise you on this. Have a nice day. And you asshole, why didn't you call me first? You called off of the sign. I thought we were friends, but nope, you decided to go ahead and sign documents. This is more critical than ever because before there was a really good chance they didn't sign anything. So we may have had procuring cause to deal with, but not this. I mean, now you're looking at tortious interference. This isn't just some minor issue. So if you are getting calls from anyone and you have been notified that they have a written agreement in place, what is one caveat to this? The agreement to show. So the question you could ask, I'm not telling her how to cancel. That's the part I want to make sure is totally clear. Yes. I'm not going to instruct anyone how to cancel because quite honestly, they may not be able to. So I'm not looking to advise on that. What I can do is ask, what buyer broker agreement did you sign? Does the top say buyer broker exclusive or does it say buyer broker agreement to show? Because if it says buyer broker agreement to show, can I work with them?
Yes.
Absolutely. You can bet your ass I'm going to have them sign a buyer broker exclusive. But yeah, you sure can work with them. So yes, you can ask that question. Just make sure you understand, do not. Because then you call me and you're like, hey, what do they need to do? They need to talk to their agent because they secured employment with that agent. I can't tell them how to get out of a contract. Yeah, Mike.
If you give them a sign an exclusive, does that trump the other one? Does it go away?
It doesn't go away, but that agent will never be entitled to compensation as a guarantee. The exclusive guarantees you, well, I mean, as much as anything is guaranteed in the industry.
They could still show for them.
Yep. Yeah, so that agreement to show means that, hey, we are in a non-exclusive relationship. So a buyer could sign 10 different agreements to show with 10 different agents. And ultimately, the only one entitled to compensation is the agent who is written into the purchase contract. Now, if I have an exclusive, I'm entitled to compensation no matter who is named on the purchase contract. So that's why in this situation, I'd be looking for an exclusive.
Is there ever a good reason to use to show?
Strategically. So for a lot of agents, it's a sign call, a Zillow lead, something, they don't really know the person, but they need to get in to show them a home quickly. They're like, hey, this is just a one page explains my duties to you based on this. We're not tied together. Let's do this. And then they may graduate to an exclusive after the fact. If you don't have a problem getting people to sign an exclusive right off the bat, use it. But there are definitely times where no, you're probably going to get some pushback. If it's an investor working with multiple agents, they're going to want the agreement to show. So circumstantial.
If it's your listing, you don't.
Correct. Until they get to the point where they want to write an offer. Now what? Now you've got to decide, are they unrepresented, which we'll talk about? Are they exclusive or agreement to show? In that case, that might be an agreement to show, just to make it simple for them. Yeah.
If you have a permission to show form, and you've shown the property, aren't you then entitled to be the person? You absolutely have to have the longer three-page document. Right?
You can have the agreement to show, but the only way you're entitled to compensation is if you are also named on the purchase contract. So you don't have to have the buyer broker exclusive. You just won't be guaranteed or entitled to compensation no matter what without it. Procuring cause is out the window because now you have to have either one of these agreements, and you're either entitled to compensation through some other means if they don't pay you through escrow, or you weren't entitled to compensation because you weren't named on the contract. So there's no longer, it doesn't matter if they showed the home before, none of that matters anymore. It's all about what the written agreement says. A little different scenario from what we're used to. Can I issue a cure notice if the lender hasn't yet ordered the appraisal and the buyer's inspection period has already ended? Yeah. Or you come up with something a little more convoluted. So the answer to this general question is there is no time frame on the contract that an appraisal has to be ordered or completed. None. The only thing that this would bump into is that all actions are completed with enough time to allow closing to occur on time. That's vague, but that's really your only potentially curable position. And by the time you would bump into that, really you're curing them for failure to comply with Section 2B of the purchase contract anyway, which is 3 days prior to close of escrow. So the moral of the story is I would probably counter or write something into my offers regarding not when it'll be completed because we don't really have control over that, but that the buyer will order the appraisal by a certain date if you want to make sure you're not bumping up against timing issues. Otherwise, no, it's not a curable offense.
What would a realistic date be for you in that situation? 10 days after contract?
I would make them order it during the inspection period. Yeah, I understand why a lot of buyers don't want to. They don't want to forfeit those funds if ultimately they're going to cancel during their inspection period anyway. I get all that. But yeah, I think I would still be inclined. That's fine, because then that means you're going to expedite your inspections at least if I know that you're going to have to order that appraisal within that 10 days. So yeah, it would be during their inspection period for me. All right, we have a couple of unique scenarios. So now we're going to see what would you do? The listing agent included the $3,500 capital improvement fee in the MLS details. Okay, so this is just on the MLS page where it has HOA information. They included there's a $3,500 cap improvement fee. However, there was no HOA addendum uploaded to the MLS documents, and none was requested prior to the buyer submitting an offer. The buyer's agent created their own HOA addendum, and they submitted that with the offer. That HOA addendum did not have a capital improvement fee listed on page 1. The seller signed both page 1 and page 3 when they accepted the offer. Line 74 was checked that the buyer would pay the capital improvement fee. Line 75 was checked that the seller would pay any undisclosed HOA fees. So any fees that did not appear on page 1, the seller agreed to pay. Okay, who is paying for the $3,500 capital improvement fee? How many of you say seller? How many of you say buyer? How many of you are like, oh, hell, I don't know. This got ugly. And unfortunately, that's exactly where I went with that. So here's the problem. and God love our poor agent probably hates me, because I did not agree with the position. I said, the seller's paying the $3,500 capital improvement fee. This line, and it's very hard because I'm the one who recommended that line to the risk management committee because of this situation where things were being missed or not included on page 1. I'm like, we need to catch all that. Ultimately, if there's something that does not appear on that page, we don't want to get stuck. So who is going to pay for it? The whole intention behind that was for this very reason. However, I understand, hey, they said they pay the capital improvement fee, but based on the HOA addendum that they submitted, how much was the capital improvement fee?
Right.
Yeah, the buyer agreed to pay $0. They didn't agree to pay the $3,500. So yeah, there were mistakes on both sides of this, in my opinion. But I agree that, and the title company agreed on this one as well, that no, it's the seller needs to pay the $3,500. That's a tough pill to swallow. This is literally at the end of it.
I have that, not necessarily this fee, but, and I do put it on the, whoever marks, most of the time it is seller that says anything is not disclosed, and then people question that with me, and I have to show them like, hey, it's not on the first page, so I'm following what the HOA addendum says, and they're like, well, that's not what it was intended, and I'm like, well, then I need an addendum to specify.
Well, and I hate this, that's not what was intended. Well, I can't clear your intentions from the black and white of the contract. So all I'm telling you is this is what it says. And of course, I'm also sitting here questioning, if you were to get an HOA addendum, you represent the seller and you're getting an HOA addendum generated from the buyer side of the transaction, and they've marked that line, I would be damn sure to review everything on page 1 to make sure that it was accounted for, because I had the opportunity to counter at that stage. So yeah, you agreed. You signed it twice. You signed page 1 and you signed page 3. Questions?
What if just HOA fees are something small? Because you get the HOA disclosures, you have time to review them at that point as buyer. You have 5 days to review the HOA packet.
Correct.
So then even if that's at $57 a month, it's really 63. That's the seller's out on just something nominal like that.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, yeah. So,
The HOA fees, they always have.
there's
actual monthly.
this is the problem. There's more involved because page 1 already indicates like there's some non-negotiable fees, right? That some are, hey, the buyer's going to pay this, the seller's going to pay this. Some of those things are already accounted for. So that becomes a little bit different. I get where you're coming from. Like, hey, if there's a difference in what was disclosed, there's also the whole element of, hey, if the buyer wanted to verify fees, they were supposed to call. If there was information provided in those HOA disclosures, the buyer had 5 days to review them. So I think there's going to be a little more flexibility with some of those things that aren't accounted for on 73 and 74 particularly. And I would make the argument that if it's a difference in monthly fees, that is a different situation because they have agreed to take over the monthly fees kind of regardless of what those amounts are, because they always are going to go up. I mean, how many of you have been in an HOA where your monthly fees went down? So I think that that's going to be a slightly different situation than a big lump sum do it close of escrow like this.
So who's eating it in your scenario? Was the agent eating it, or?
If it was me, I would have.
What's actually happening?
Nope, seller paid it. Yeah, seller paid it. All right, so now let's do another HOA addendum one, because these are so much fun. The HOA addendum was uploaded into the MLS documents, okay? There was no capital improvement fee listed on page 1. To everybody, this wasn't some extra, it wasn't in the MLS, nothing was listed. The buyers have now discovered there is a $365 cap improvement fee. Line 74 was checked that the buyer would pay the capital improvement fee. Now again, they signed it based off of thinking it didn't exist. It was $0. However, line 75 was not checked at all. I want to strangle you all for leaving that box, no matter what the intention is. However, I would say, no matter what, I would mark that box seller. Always, always, always. I would mark that box seller. That would be my template. That would just be my standard of practice. It will always be. Why in the world would I subject my buyer to paying fees that nobody knows anything about? No, seller. But it wasn't checked at all. Who is paying the $375 cap improvement fee? How many of you say buyer? How many of you say seller? How many of you say, oh my God, after the last one, I'm so confused, I still don't know? They became aware of it. They're paying the 375 cap improvement fee. Now, potentially the buyer is paying the 375 cap improvement fee. Now, had line 75 been checked, anything undisclosed paid by seller, who would be paying it? So that is the moral to the story. With this one, would they have had 5 days after receipt of those HOA disclosures to potentially renegotiate that? Yeah. So they could have, but boy, is it easier to just negotiate it all up front as opposed to trying to haggle things after the fact, especially if now things are contentious because of inspections and appraisals and everything else. Yeah, probably.
$375.
For $375. I'd be like, take my money.
You negotiate that if it was supposed to, when you signed that it was the seller to pay. At what point in time would that come up? If the seller doesn't bring it up, or the buyer doesn't bring it up, and it's up to the title, does that not?
So in the first scenario, there was nothing to negotiate because it already said the seller was paying for any undisclosed fees on page 1.
The second.
Yeah, so that line 75 is the most critical part of all of this, that ultimately make sure something's marked and make sure what's marked is seller. Because that's gonna, if, of course, assuming you have the buyer, that's gonna save your ass in that situation. Yeah, this one was just unfortunate because nobody read page 1. So the sellers got stuck with something they weren't prepared for. All right. Oh, this is a fun one. Buyer's agent calls listing agent and inquires about seller's willingness to compensate a buyer broker. Listing agent informs buyer's agent that the seller is agreeable to 2.5%. Buyer's agent then submits an offer with an SCA for 3%. Because really, I do not care what you think they're going to pay me. I am going to ask for what my buyer has asked me to ask for based on our buyer broker agreement. Seller accepts the offer, but does not send back a signed SCA. Buyer's agent asks for the SCA, and the next morning, the listing agent sends over a seller-signed SCA, a totally different one, with 2.5% on line 10. The buyer does not sign this, and now there is no executed SCA. How much is the seller paying for buyer broker compensation at COE? How many of you say 3%? How many of you say 2.5? How many of you say somebody's going to have to argue about this? Oh, I did.
Argue.
I did argue with the other broker about this. And you know what? I won. It was 3%. It's 3%. If they wanted to pay 2.5%, what did they need to do?
Counter offer.
Yeah.
Yes, I get heated. I understand this. However, this other broker who insisted upon arguing with me about this, you know where she finally landed? That because of that original conversation, my agent had a responsibility to deal fairly and honestly with her agent, to let her know that clearly they didn't intend to accept this and that they should have countered the offer instead. Now, aside, she's like, but your agent was more knowledgeable, so they knew how to handle this. They knew how to handle this, and they were obligated to explain that to my agent. I lost my shit. So aside from the fact that no, that is not what dealing honestly and fairly means. What you are in essence asking is for my agent to violate her fiduciary duty to her buyer by bringing this to your agent's attention. Because who is responsible for that other 0.5% if the seller didn't pay it? The buyer. So why would we put our buyers in that position? This was so far over her head that the conversation ended with, I'm going to send you a link to my YouTube channel so that you and your agents can be better educated about this process in the future. I did not get any other responses after that. It potentially, but probably not. So the reason that I could very easily prove, obviously I can show you the sent email that shows these were all attached together. In a perfect world, and they did, they incorporated the SCA into this, but in this situation, we technically have 2 SCAs. So we would still have to prove, well, which one was the one that went over with the offer. Now I'm like, well, clearly the one that was signed by the buyer. But yeah, here's the email that shows all of the documents went over in one email. They were all part of the same offer terms. Yeah. Yep. So that's a fun one. I did have another agent. She's like, well, what about we don't have a meeting of the minds? I'm like, we sure as hell did. We have an accepted contract. That is our meeting of the minds. Without a counter offer, the meeting of the minds was that that seller is paying 3%. And like I told the other broker, I think this is going to be an expensive learning lesson for your agent. I would encourage you that you chat with her about reducing her commission to offset the cost to her sellers. But again, what do I know? And then she can watch my videos. A few reminders regarding unrepresented buyers, because I know that these are popping up more and more frequently. Okay, we've discussed this before, but I think all of us, meaning the brokers for Realty One Group, have decided there's really just one way we want you to handle this. While I understand you do have to take some guidance from your sellers, we're trying to make a consistent practice that is also consistent with what AAR recommends. So the dues, of course, you got to show your listing. Okay, that's not in question. Have the buyer sign the unrepresented buyer disclosure and the agency disclosure. When should they sign that? Ideally before you show it, certainly at that point where you are showing it. Ask the buyer to submit their offer terms in whatever format they prefer. Okay, they can send over an email, they can send over a Word document, they can leave you with a napkin, they can call you and verbalize what they want that to be. All of that is fine. Use the AAR purchase contract. This is the biggest part of this that I want you to remember, as a counter offer or reverse offer to the buyer. Okay, so they're going to send us an email, a text, whatever. This is what we want. I'm going to present that to my seller. My response is going to be drafting an entire AAR purchase contract with the terms that my seller wants, which you can bet is probably going to include things like increased earnest money, waiving appraisals, anything that might be beneficial to my seller, I'm going to include in this AAR purchase contract. But I will have an additional clause that indicates either that this is being used as a reverse offer to the buyer, or simply, and I think this is the easier way, this AAR purchase contract is being used as a counter offer to the buyer's offer terms. Gary.
Why wouldn't, because the purchase contract is built for the benefit of the buyer. So why wouldn't we create our own if you have a listing that gets rid of all of the fluff that helps them? If we're trying to counter them with a form that actually is going to help the buyer more and hurt our seller because of the verbiage in our contracts.
So this is my biggest argument against this, right? That ultimately I get that side of things. Here's where I'm way more in their side about why I understand this is beneficial. Anything that we write, do we have E&O protection on?
Yeah.
Nope. The answer to that is no.
No,
No.
I'm not paying for it then.
You don't have, well, you better be using standardized forms. So as soon as you start stepping out of standardized forms, you're increasing liability. You're increasing liability because it hasn't been tried in court, which is also the biggest reason for, hey, we know what this one says, we know what this one does, and ultimately, all of the timelines are going to be consistent with practice. So if it does go to litigation, you've got that in your favor. I get where you're coming from. You're like, hey, a napkin, this is easy. That buyer has no contingencies. It would be smarter to write in a removal of those contingencies into the form. So when you do this, if you bump into this, let me know, because I'm going to have a list of nope.
So I was wondering if you have a list of
Yep. No financing contingency, no appraisal contingency. The inspections, let them have their inspections again. I think that's more valuable to a seller long term from a disclosure perspective. But yeah, some of those other contingencies. Yeah. Well, and bear in mind too, like the additional clause addendum can actually cover several of these things for you. You can just eliminate them. So there are things, but yes, so there would be modifications I would probably want to include, but really we're coming at this from, and I'll buy this, nothing else you write or put together has been tried in court. This has, and we know what ultimately it can and cannot do, and that's just going to be long-term benefit to our client. Brian, did you have something else? Okay. I thought I heard somebody talking.
Don't worry, I did, but
Okay.
Is AAR gonna come up with a form for that?
Nope, the form is the contract. Yeah, the form is the contract. So really, this is just gonna be a matter of, and they're not gonna create distinctive clauses for this because they're not necessarily encouraging that, but I agree. Like, our contract is very, very buyer friendly. Now, there are parts of that that absolutely protect the seller, including you can't just go to litigation. Like, you can't just start throwing us into a lawsuit. You have to go through mediation or arbitration. So there are definitely some things in there. But like I said, if you come into this, let me know, because there are some things that I'm like, let's waive a couple of these contingencies for the buyer. And you have no obligation to discuss those or advise the buyer or explain those to them. That's all on them. So on that, there were some questions about this as well. You may use an e-sign option with an unrepresented buyer. You do not have to do the multi-step process where you are sending them a PDF to review first. And again, I buy this, that ultimately, aren't you almost over protecting them by telling them, hey, I'm going to send you a PDF to review first? How often do we do that with our clients? Not enough. Hey, I'm going to send you a PDF to review first. You can ask me questions, blah, blah, blah. Then I'll send you the thing to sign. We're not doing that. So why would we do that with an unrepresented buyer? Nope, send it over. If you got questions about it, you download a PDF copy and bring it to your lawyer. But you can absolutely do the e-signing to facilitate a smoother deal. And of course, your response to just about everything is talk to your lawyer, talk to your counsel. I can't answer questions. I can't advise you. So on the don't answer contract questions. It's not your duty to explain those things to them. If they don't know what they're signing, that's their problem. Do not remind them of timelines or guidelines unless it's impactful to your seller. So really the only thing I'd be looking at is 3 days prior to close of escrow. Okay, do we have what we want? And if not, I'd be curing them. And that's their reminder. Hey, you had a duty to perform. So get your stuff together and get it over to your lender and title. Do not originate any documents for the buyer. So kind of the old way that we had discussed, if you attended one of the previous classes with me, was like a 3-step process. They'll send me stuff. I'll put that into our offer. I'll send it back to them to review and sign. We're not doing any of that anymore. Send me what you want. And what I'll send back is our counter offer via the purchase contract. And for the love of God, do not send blank AAR documents for the buyer to fill out. Those are copyrighted forms. You, under no circumstances should you ever be sending a blank document to somebody. Questions?
Where does that go? Is it under the additional terms and conditions, or you just?
Yeah, the clause kind of regarding any contingencies that you're going to have them waive, but also that little clause about, hey, this is serving as a counter offer to the terms offered by the buyer. Yes, additional terms. And I just updated the contract clauses with a buyer addition clause. I will include this clause as well. I'm not going to do all of the contingencies because I'd probably want you to talk to me about those if you're looking at doing them so that we can make sure that they're appropriately being handled. Because some contingencies won't apply and you don't need to use all in every single situation. But the clause regarding, hey, for an unrepresented buyer, this is serving as a counter offer to their terms, I'll include a clause in that and I'll send that out. Anything else? All right. The market sucks. But it's going to improve because we're going to start using what with our listings? List and lock. A couple of just highlights. These aren't highlights. This is horrible information. I'm sorry, but it's stuff to make sure your sellers are aware of. Canceled listings were up 46% in June compared to last year. And expired listings were up 79%. That is insane. Now, the good thing is, assuming they don't relist, that ultimately that's inventory that's dropping off the market. So we're actually creating a better inventory situation because there won't be as many homes on the market. However, our sellers need to be aware. Like, this is what happens when you don't price well, you don't listen to my advice, you don't paint the ugly ass wall that's burnt orange when you first walk in. Then after 4 million days on market, you're going to just expire or cancel like the rest of these yahoos that exceeds 100% when you combine them together.
I wish I could talk to them about it.
Oh, I do. This is why if I have to talk to your clients, you will never have them as clients again. So it's best if you can try to fix them first. Like, they'll hate you, they'll hate me, and they'll hate Realty One Group. And then I have to read about it on the reviews on our Google page. So, grow some balls, people. Grow some balls. We discussed this at the last meeting. You all just keep taking these listings like they're all great. They're not. They are not. The sellers are horrible. The homes are horrible. And you know what? The only person you have to blame for this situation is yourself. So be more picky and choosy. 55% of sales closed last month. I mentioned this, with sellers contributing a median, not an average, a median of $10,000 to the buyer's closing costs. With negotiating on top of that $10,000, it was about 3% below their final list price that they sold for. So they're taking an additional 3% off their price after they've already reduced it 700 times. And they're still paying 10 grand in concessions.
Not to mention the appraisal came back low.
Exactly. Exactly. And prices are coming down. I know that's shocking, but it is what it is. If you ever get an agent letting you know, hey, I will be sending over an offer, don't believe them. Until you actually have it in your inbox, and then you look desperate because you're calling them every 7 minutes. You told me you were sending one. Is it on its way? When are you going to send one? I know that you're out. I know that you're celebrating something. However, my sellers are really anxious. Can you get that over?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Why? Don't do any of that. Don't believe a word they say until, and please do not tell your sellers that an offer is on the way. You will never recover from that. Until you ultimately have one in hand, because the follow-up photo to this is 27 days later at 1300, that this is what the face still looks like. Yeah, you never got the offer. Don't believe them. They're liars. Questions? There is one for, what is it?
The spuds have an expiration date.
Oh. No, so the spuds themselves do not have an expiration date. However, disclosures do. So ultimately, if you have a new disclosure, you need to update the spuds. And you can do that a couple of ways. You can do it right on the spuds themselves and then just put a little initial and date by that change. If you've never had a buyer even enter into the mix, you don't even have to initial and update it, or put a date, just update the spuds. Like nobody knows any better. If you are already under contract, for sure, and just potentially if you have a bigger issue that needs more of an explanation, use the notice disclosure form. That's what it's there for. I mean, it's there for a lot of reasons, but that's a good reason to use it. Wow, this is the most quiet, depressed group we've seen in a while. I'm sorry to leave you in such a state.
We're all waiting.
Keep on waiting. All right, well, I will see you all in August. Enjoy your day. My pleasure.
Use that multiple offer addendum, we're supposed to check the box as an additional addendum on page 1 of the PC.
That would be wise. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you don't, but yeah, so I would just mark the other and then indicate an MOCO is attached.
Okay.
Yeah. You're welcome. Hello.